It's a service that depends on the data that it contains, the data that comes from users. So in this 80 million active users, 15,000 financial institutions in 190 countries with 24 currencies, and all this competency in understanding the data that's being produced by all those users. It's not just payment, but it's identity, fraud detection, risk management, all this competency which is being put at the disposal of you, the developers. But it's inherently decentralized. You know, this could never be like Google as a platform, Amazon as a platform, Apple as a platform, Facebook as a platform, because in the end, it has to be out there at the endpoints. And so PayPal is sort of built to be a component of this internet operating system. And so I feel like it's a real opportunity here to show that the way the internet operating system ought to work. And you know, I feel like in my conversations with Osama, I feel like, you know, we're really on the same page about showing this best practice and putting together applications that use this service in ways that put all that centralization that PayPal gets from the huge scale that it has out at the endpoints in the internet style. So a little bit of advice for PayPal based on, you know, both my missionary inclinations and you know, a few ideas about where the future is going. First thing, from Josh Block, famous Java developer. I just saw this tweeted recently and I loved it. I had to put it in there. He said, API design is like sex. Make one mistake and you support it for the rest of your life. So I'm really hoping that the API design team has been thinking deeply about this. If not, may already be too late. But the fact is, there's also a good side to that, because there's many accidents that are very happy accidents in the end, and I'm very hopeful that some of those surprises that I'm sure are in there may turn out to have actually wonderful unintended consequences. So, next piece of advice, I've been giving this to people in the payment space as far back as CyberCash. Do you guys remember CyberCash back in the, yeah, way back there? I remember having a conversation with Dan Lynch and Marshall Rose and saying, what are you doing about receipts? And they went, receipts? We hadn't thought about that. You know, a wallet is used for a lot of things, not just about payment. And if PayPal is the internet's wallet, it's about payment, it's identification, it's loyalty cards, discount coupons, receipts, special things to keep and share. You know, people keep their pictures of their kids in their wallet, or they used to. Now, of course, where do they keep them? On their phone. So a lot of the things that have been in the wallet are moving out of the physical wallet onto the phone, potentially onto other devices. And of course, you have to think about then, what job does a wallet do? And one of the things that I think PayPal is thinking very deeply about and wants you to think about with them is, how do we build innovative new services to do the jobs that we used to do with cash, the jobs that we used to do with credit cards, the jobs that we used to do with all that paper that we stuff in our wallet until it's so fat that, you know, it hurts to sit down on it. So you guys can invent new services, but PayPal has this unique back end that can only happen at scale. You know, figuring out fraud detection, for example. You know, providing mechanisms for easy payment. All the things that PayPal built in there. You know, address recognition, so on. All kinds of cool features. But of course, what you have to do is take PayPal, the payment, and you have to put it together with other components of this internet operating system, whether it's speech recognition, location, social networks, government data, lots of other services that you can bring into your application space to build innovative applications of this internet operating system. So there's obviously lots of fellow travelers. There's services like OpenID, which are trying to figure out the identity space, make that interoperable. It's a really cool application from a British telecom called Ribbit, which is a little bit like Google Voice. But I just thought they have one application which again shows off this internet operating system concept, and it's called Ribbit for Salesforce. And it's very cool. You guys know with Google Voice or with Ribbit, what you can do is you can do voicemail, right? You can do voicemail transcription. Well, what they did in the Salesforce application was they realized, well, you can do voicemail to yourself. And so, for example, you can imagine a salesperson who is coming out of a sales call. They call up their own voicemail, they dictate all their notes, and it's automatically put in the Salesforce record. So effectively, the phone becoming a front end to Salesforce without Salesforce having to build that functionality. So again, this is Internet Operating System thinking at work, and that's what I'm urging you to do. Same thing, there's a huge amount of data coming out of the US government. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the government space. Recently launched a new conference called the Gov2O Summit, the Gov2O Expo, to explore that. I think we're just beginning to think through that opportunity, but I urge you to pay attention to that space. And the last lesson is one that is so fundamental to the internet. It was a statement that was written by John Postel in the RFC, the original standards document for TCP, the Transmission Control Protocol, in 1980. It's generally referred to as the robustness principle. I also would say, if it were in the Bible, it would be called the golden rule. And it went like this: TCP implementation should follow a general principle of robustness. Be conservative in what you do, like what you send out to other people. Be liberal in what you accept from others. In other words, don't just fail people. You know, try to figure out what they meant, but be very careful in what you put out yourself. And I love that, because it is so much a kind of golden rule for computing, and I always try to bring it back to people's consciousness, because the fundamental philosophy of the early designers of the internet is so profoundly shaped the internet up till now. And it worries me that we're starting to move away from that philosophy, and I want to make sure that we remember and that we continue to build services that are designed to work together without having to have an explicit contract, because they follow this robustness principle. I think that's how we get to the small pieces loosely joined Internet Operating System of the future, instead of the one ring to rule them all operating system that I worry about. And I'm counting on you, as PayPal developers, to be part of giving us that future that we want, an Internet Operating System that works for all of us. Thank you very much.